Welcome back, welcome in, and welcome all to the final edition of the Like That podcast. With your hosts for the one final time, myself, Nico, joined by Nick in Brooklyn. Guys, a little bit of a bittersweet episode. The finale, the send off. Both so upset you don't even want to talk.
I have
Wait
no
for him to go.
words. Oh, I have no words. It's a shame that this has to go to such a screeching halt 26 episodes in.
Right after
But
we just
I have-
had our most viral posts on social media, we had almost
It was too
Yeah.
much.
we had
It was
over
just-
It didn't sit right. The amount of hate that we generated in the basketball world, and obviously social media is a very known place of peace and tranquility with so many friendly faces with opposing arguments, being very happy to have a very equally sided debate and not just go at each other. We were a little taken aback by the responses we saw because we assumed TikTok and Instagram were like peace treaties almost, and that isn't what happened. And for that reason, we just can't allow this war to go on any longer, and it has to be the end.
we came to
I can't sleep at night.
we came to this agreement together. We saw that this week we had almost 70,000 views across our social media platforms, and said maybe we're getting too close to the sun. What is the Icarus quote? That he was smiling while falling because to fall meant that he had soared so high.
What?
Right.
Never, do you know this? Do you know the story of Icarus?
No.
The story of what?
So, little Greek mythology. It's about this dude that learns to fly. Like he gets wings. He builds wings, and he tries to fly to the sun. So he
Dad, I got my powers.
kind of. But he ends up flying
Are you
too close
sure?
to the sun. Flies too close. The wings start to melt, and he falls.
Let me break it down for you, Mark.
And then he ends up not being able to sleep at night because of Luca and Shea fans going at each other's throats.
I can't sleep
Yeah.
because I'm just
In
I'm
every
thinking,
every single MVP conversation that I've heard on nationally broadcast basketball games, I have not heard Luca's name brought up.
That's why I can't sleep at night, dude. It's I don't understand it.
Well,
That
I
being
get it.
said, new clickbait. Does Wemby deserve MVP talks?
Yeah, we just only talk about Wemby.
Yeah.
But actually, what are we talking about in this episode? We have our teams of the
Our
week, of
final
course.
episode.
Our players of the week, the last installment of those. And then we wanted to go back to one of our favorite topics of our show, and that was us talking about the win totals. I know Nick wasn't here for that when we were breaking down NFL future win totals, so we thought we'd give you guys a little bit more betting advice before we're out the door. And then we're going to end the episode talking about NBA expansion. I know there's a lot going on in the NBA playoffs that, isn't necessarily worth talking about just yet because we're so close, but still so much can change. So I think it's a good time for us to bring up the expansion because it's actually pretty prominent, and it looks like there's a chance it could be happening in 2028. But before we get into all of that, quick question for you guys. Again, being the last episode, we talk sports all the time. If you could be any type of professional athlete, what would you be?
I think for me, golf, professional golfer. I think
You just
for me
never have to be in
personally.
shape.
Never have to be in shape. You get to play on the green all day long. You I don't we all play golf together here, and I'm probably the worst one here out of the three. So
Probably.
if I can ever if I could ever just, set up the tee, grab the driver, and just hit a casual 250. Get
Brother,
right
you're in
on
the
the green.
PGA. That's
putt once.
300.
That's why that would just be great. That'd be awesome. So I'm going with professional golfer, I think.
It's gonna be a weird one, but tennis. I love the idea of winding up and take a swing and just being oh, just
You just
let
want
it
to
out,
grunt.
man.
You just want to grunt while playing sports.
Yeah, but you know how quiet it is during a tennis match, and you see someone load up to take a swing, and then they hit the ball and just
Every time.
"Ugh!
Every time.
When
Ugh!"
when they yell at the ref And it's like dead silent.
Yeah, and then you like slam the
They
racket.
just-
It's genuinely like everyone's just like watching you, like, what the hell just happened?
my
Except you
God.
don't get embarrassed.
See, for me,
No,
oh, are you joking, or you actually want to be a tennis player?
I mean, I actually don't think I'd want to be a tennis player. If in my past life, if I say my past life, I meant a life that is not the one that I'm currently living right now. Um, I would have liked to be an NBA player, but then I capped out at 5'9". Jeremy Lin decided to take my dream and run with it. So that's a clip. But yeah,
I
NBA player is my real guess, or my real answer.
I kind of went the path with Nick. Like I want to be an athlete. I don't want it to be too much stress. I want to make some good money in the process, and I kind of want to be a journeyman backup quarterback in the NFL, right? Like, give me my $2 million every year. Let me hang out with the B team. I'll take all those reps, and whenever I have to go into a game as a backup quarterback, you're never expecting the backup to actually win the game. It's like, oh, Mahomes got hurt. Here's Gardner Minshew. Oh well, so like expectations are low. I still make a good amount of money, and realistically, I don't get hurt.
So if you had to pick between swapping careers with Nathan Peterman, Zach Wilson, or Orlovsky,
I wouldn't. No, I'm saying journeyman. Like, give me make Josh McCown's. I feel like that's a great one.
nah, but
Uh,
I give you those three. Which one of those careers is most?
uh, I would definitely take Orlovsky. I mean, he's definitely aged the best out of them all when you talk about how the
That
career has
ran out
changed.
of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be
I
Nathan
mean,
Peterman, who has like arguably the
Nah,
worst
that's true.
the worst
the
quarterback
worst
game
thrower
ever.
ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
And you could be on. You could just become a broadcaster too after.
exactly. Like I know Ball's a backup quarterback. I can talk the field. I might have stepped out of bounds by accident, and therefore I have some relevance in my name.
But
Um,
when somebody else does it, it's awesome, and
exactly,
you're not the only one.
exactly.
Shout out
um,
Jimmy G.
but real quick before we jump into the main segment, Nico, I know we talked about this earlier in the week about some interesting or cool stats that my model found in terms of recencies against the spread, and it's actually none of the teams really that I'm going to mention are many that we're going to talk about in the actual episode. Hottest last 5 teams against the spread. Number one, you want to take a guess?
Well, I would assume it is like looking at the data that we were seeing recently. I think it was. I know the Wizards were doing pretty well.
Pacers are 5-0 against the spread in the last 5.
Huh.
Behind them, Detroit, Phoenix, and Portland. Coldest last 5. Cleveland 1-4. New York 1-4. Golden State 1-4. New Orleans. Last 10 leaders are Atlanta at 7-3. Indiana at 7-3 there. Detroit 7-3. And then the last 10 worst, kind of similar here. Houston 3-7. Cleveland 3-7. And New York 3-7. So a little bit of an update on recency spreads there, if you are interested.
Might be jumping into a little bit more on those. But how about you start us off here, Nick? What was your team of the week?
My team of the week is the Denver Nuggets. 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're on a 6-game win streak. They are 11-2 against the spread as home underdogs, and upright against the spread as underdogs. They are 15-6. If you take a look at the standings right now, they are right behind the Lakers at 48-28. They have a 2-game lead over Minnesota right now. It's kind of starting with, I believe there's only 12 days left in the regular season. We're kind of starting to see like the seeding really differentiate between everything. But I mean, this Nuggets team, man, if you look back at early March, they had tough loss to the Thunder, but they blew out the Rockets by almost 40 points. They beat the Spurs, tough loss to the Lakers in OT. But then after that, I mean, and you have a tough loss to the Grizzlies. But since then, I mean, they've been blowing teams out of the water. They look good, especially at this time. It's important. They have 2 more games against the Spurs and 1 more game against the Thunder coming up, so that's crucial for them. But I mean, I've said this before on this podcast. If you have Nikola Jokic on your team, I mean, you're in pretty good shape heading in the playoffs, and they look like they're on the right track.
The Nuggets, like when you look at the schedule, just like breaking it down from like March to now, it's you could argue that there's been some games that they should have, like that they kind of need to win to separate themselves to show that they are true title contenders. And you see those losses to the Knicks, the Thunder, the Lakers, and then like you mentioned that Grizzlies one. That's brutal. But yeah, that 6-game win streak. against you have some decent opponents mixed in there. I mean, Toronto, Portland, and Phoenix aren't exactly pushovers, but the last three being Dallas, Utah, and Golden State. Those are teams you just have to win at this time of the year. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they're necessarily can or I can put them in the category of real contenders for the title. But as you said, when you got to play good basketball late in the stretch, that's what they've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, Denver has had just some weird inconsistencies with their bench, and I think some of the pieces that they kind of wanted to show up a little bit more consistently, such as like Cam Johnson's been very touchy, wishy washy. But other than that, they're key guys. Jokic and Murray, like those are the two guys who show up night in, night out. Peyton Watson coming back, as again I said this last week, but as he just begins to ease back into things, like you're seeing his scoring ability just become a little bit more natural. Especially in the last couple games that we saw. I think most recently was against. I think the game I was watching was against Dallas. And it's a team that I think is going to start to come together that has playoff experience. They're on a nice little win streak as of late. I think it's the perfect momentum they need as we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but
you mentioned Peyton Watson. It was funny because I was just going to bring him up, but in his last two games, he's a combined 5 for 21. But the Dallas Mavericks game that you're referencing,
rust.
21 points on 7 of 10.
Yeah, it's rust, and it's just obviously he's still a young guy in the league and bouncing back off an injury probably for like the first time of that much of an extended time that he missed. Like it's something that you got to overcome, and it's not going to come naturally. But going to my team of the week real quick, we're going to talk about the Pistons. And I know a couple weeks ago, last time I think the three of us might have been on the same episode together. Not last week, but the week before, or not the week before, but a couple weeks before. We talked about the Pistons and just generally not knowing how deep of a team they actually are. And I think this last almost 10 game stretch now has been very revealing in terms of how resilient that team is. And it's coming in my team of the week. And this is a team that's now, 9 games without Cade. And I know it's not technically a full 9, but he played 5 minutes in that game against Washington until he exited, and they won that game. And yes, it's Washington, but they're 7-2 without Cade right now. And this is also a team that has stepped up huge defensively. They are currently 4th in best defensive efficiency in the league right now, and it's also a team that just took Oklahoma City to overtime, and that was a much closer game than I think it ever should have been. But they pulled up some, some upset wins against Minnesota without Cade. They beat the Lakers and with a player that I'll be talking about later on. A team that's just overall impressed me, and I know they lost to the Thunder, but they had no business being in that game, even 4 quarters.
One guy I do want to say that has been balling for the Pistons, Dennis Jenkins.
Hey,
Like,
save it.
oh,
Save
well,
it.
sorry.
Because we will be. You'll have your time to talk about Dennis Jenkins. Don't you worry.
Okay.
We'll talk about it very soon.
Yeah, I feel bad for the amount of shit we gave Detroit, saying that they might not without Cade be that strong of a unit, but like you said, that Detroit resilience has stepped in, and big wins against Minnesota recently.
Dude.
You could take that Thunder loss and kind of count it as a win, because I feel like with a spread of 11.5, pushing that to OT without Cade, they're fighting for the argument that they are a legit team. Does this still sway your opinion though on them being fluky in the playoffs? Because you've performed well as of late, but when you're facing another playoff team in a 5-game series or a 7-game series, I still don't know if I take Detroit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that roster in general against I know they took the Thunder to OT in a game that I think that was the game SGA had 47 in, but I don't know if it's a 4-game series. You see the Thunder 4 times, or that's the finals, but you see the Celtics 4 times in a row. I don't necessarily think that they're gonna pull off wins without Cade. And even with Cade, I think that it's a team that the Celtics could probably beat just with a little bit more of not lack of depth, but better superstar play. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I think, beat Cade and Jalen Duren. So overall, I don't think that they're a team that's going to clear some of the top 3 or 4 in a best of 7.
Anything you want to add there, Nick?
No, I mean, I was actually very crucial in Detroit, but that was only just because I really wanted the Celtics to make a run for the 1 seed. But I mean, Pistons just kept winning games. The Celtics were kind of playing themselves out of that. But I mean, they have a clear lead now. They're going to have home court for the playoffs. I do think home court very valuable. But I mean, like we were just talking about, if you look at any other these teams in the East, like I don't really see them within the top 5, 4 maybe. I don't see them beating Celtics, Knicks, or Cavs in a 7-game.
Well, I think a team that we haven't actually mentioned as a team of the week since we started talking about the NBA, which is, again, kind of surprising. I mean, I know a lot of it is from the betting perspective, but this one kind of knocks both. They've been absolutely elite as a team for like the last 3 months, but also the last 10 games they've been incredibly efficient to bet on, and that is the San Antonio Spurs, currently riding a 9-game win streak. If you had to guess how many wins they've had in their last 27 games, could I get a number?
I'd say 23.
I was gonna say 21.
The answer is 25. 25 and
Oh.
2 over their last 27 games. I had to
Well, apparently to TikTok standards, that's not an insane run or anything. Just like how the Celtics were 30 something and 3.
they were like 31
Yeah.
and 9 or something.
It's,
And,
it's not
yeah,
it's not that crazy.
somebody online said, "Yeah, that's not that cool." But yeah, 25 and
Just
2.
25 win.
25 and 2. 9-game win streak, but from the betting perspective on it, in their last 10 games, if you took their first half money line, that's hitting 9 out of 10 times. First quarter money line 9 out of 10 times. The craziest part of it to me was their first half spread of -8.5 has cashed in 9 of their last 10 games. So overall, like when you look at this 9-game win streak, it hasn't been consistent, a consistent basis of hitting the total spread of the game. But this is a Spurs team that is just outright winning these games, but dominating from the get-go. So I know they're playing, as we're recording, they got Golden State at 10 o'clock tonight. First half spread was -8.5. And I put a little bit of coin on it, believing in San Antonio. But yeah, a team that I feel like we haven't talked too much of. We've talked a lot of Luka. We've talked a lot of Shea. We've mentioned how the Spurs are our second favorite to come out of the West, but they're making an argument to show that they're not that, that the gap between them and the Thunder is not that big. And I don't know if you guys thought it was, but I kind of do think that there is a little bit of a gap, but Wemby's doing everything he can to shrink that.
I do think when you look at the Thunder and the Spurs, it's obviously like two very young teams. But I think the biggest difference between both of these rosters is like the Thunder's roster, they have a little more experience. Like they just won a championship. The Spurs team has just kind of been constructed kind of like within the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, they just got De'Aaron Fox last year. I mean, they just got Stephon Castle. He's on his second year. But I mean, they've had guys like Keldon Johnson around for a long time. Devin Vassell's been around for a little while. So, I mean, they still definitely have some foundational players there. And I mean, yeah, Victor Wembanyama has taken this team to another level, who has now talked himself into second favorite MVP conversations, which
Talk
a week
yourself.
ago
I was going to say talked himself is a funny way to say
not even
that.
talked himself, but it's just like a week ago we were talking about Luca. So like the narrative's changing. I mean, he's making an impact, and I mean, the race in the West is much tighter than how it looked at the beginning of the year. I mean, it was kind of like Thunder were like on pace to break the 73-9 record with how they were looking, but now they kind of lost their steam. And yeah, man, San Antonio, they look scary. Like regardless of age and experience, they have chemistry. And I mean, if you go up against a team like that, especially when you have Wemby, that's dangerous.
Yeah, these teams that are constructed like within the last year or two, like, all you need, I mean, we are almost into a full or at the end of a full 82 game season. Like they have had plenty of time to get on the same page. And when it comes to the Spurs, like around trade deadline, I don't think they made any moves really. Or if anything, I never heard anything about the Spurs, but it's a team that I think that like even if it's just been for about a year or so, like they got professionals on this team. It's not like any guys who are locker room havoc wreakers, right? It's Harrison Barnes, a vet. Castle's still very young and developing. Dylan Harper, a rookie, can't really say much. And of course, that 7'4" Frenchman, like it's just he's just unstoppable on both sides of the floor. San Antonio, top 3 in defensive efficiency, both in the last 3 and just over the course of this season. I don't think this team is that like newly constructed at this point. Again, a full season into it, I think they know exactly what they're doing.
And well, again, if we were continuing this podcast, I'd be so excited to talk about what the playoff picture would look like and how we're breaking down those games. But that's
only, right?
If only. But
If only, man.
switching it to our poop teams of the week, are the teams that have been stealing your money out of your pockets because you've been betting on them. I don't know why the hell you'd be betting on the Memphis Grizzlies, but if you have been, I'm sorry. Maybe call the hotline, but they have not been hitting that well. The Grizzlies in their last 16 games, they are 2-14, which that's, again, it makes sense. The Grizzlies aren't necessarily trying to compete for the playoffs in any way, but when you take a look at their first quarter money line and their first half money line in their last 10 games, they have covered the first quarter money line once, and the first half in their last 10 games, they have not. So kind of the opposite of the Spurs. The Grizzlies are a team that have lost a lot of the games that they've been playing recently, and not only losing, but they are just losing right from the first whistle.
What is there to say about Memphis Grizzlies? Like Gigi
There's
Jackson's
not even
exciting.
Grizzlies in Memphis. There's no Grizzlies on the roster. You don't got no Bears on this team. But two, there's no Grizzlies in Memphis. They can't win.
No.
I genuinely don't know what there is to say. And maybe he's been out for so long that I genuinely forgot what happened to him. Where is Zach Edey?
It's a good question.
I know he's been hurt, but what happened to him that he's been out for the entirety of this last 3 months that I really dug into basketball?
Well, I know Nick's looking that up in the meantime, but I mean, I don't remember the injury offhand, but I know he's being that frame, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
7 days ago, the Grizzlies announced that Zach Edey underwent a procedure Tuesday to address his lingering discomfort in his left elbow. Isn't he a righty?
Yeah, but so if my left elbow hurts, I think that's more than a reason.
Buddy, you get paid too much money to have some shit happening in your weenus, and you're like, I can't play.
It's probably more than we think.
I'm seeing lingering left ankles. What? Oh yeah, also had a procedure on his left elbow.
Wait. So he's dealing with a left weenus issue and then an
just
ankle
messed up. He's just messed up.
I mean, hey, it's the human body is not meant to be 7'3". Wemby got lucky that he's still able to walk around, but no, this Grizzlies team, I don't know what there is to it. They have some exciting prospects now from that trade.
They don't even get to be called the Grizzlies at this point. They're the Memphis Cubs.
The Cubs.
They're the Cubs. What is ferocious about this roster right now?
The Memphis Bears.
Gigi Jackson's cool. I mean, he's fun to watch. Taj Gibson's on this team. You know who actually has kind of surprised? Ty Jerome. He's been a guy here that when he plays, he's not too bad. But I don't think that you see that same result if you put him on most other NBA teams. Maybe the Nets.
He didn't go back to Cleveland because of how well he played last year. He played himself into a good contract.
But I also don't really know the direction that this Grizzlies team is going next year. There's no real you held on to John Morant. I felt like if they were really doing this rebuild, you got to get rid of Ja for picks.
I think it's funny because Ja and Zion get drafted. When they both got drafted, you were like, oh my gosh, these Ja immediately hit the floor running, and Zion was seen as God at the time. So we were like, these teams will be good. And then you see obviously the Pelicans kind of struggled in mediocrity because Zion couldn't keep his weight down or be on the court. And then you had the Grizzlies that hit a peak, you could say, and now they're retooling. But if you told me right after their rookie seasons that both these teams would be still bottom of the barrel, I'd be shocked.
Well, is it my turn now?
It's your turn now.
My poop team. Okay, my turn.
Your last ever poop
team. My last ever poop team. Now I'm gonna say this team. You're gonna be like, wait. They haven't been bad. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, not necessarily in the win-loss ratio, but against the spread, they're 3-7 in their last 10, and we are so far into the regular season at this point that I'm pretty sure they are going to take the record with the worst against the spread record in the NBA with a 30-46 record. So I'm pretty sure they're only covering the spread, I believe, 30% of the time. Pretty rough. Check my math there. It's definitely wrong. I saw it earlier. And also
30 divided by 76.
Yeah, there's someone.
How the hell are you worse than Sacramento, man?
That and to be fair, a lot of their a lot of their games, they're favored by like 13, 14 points, but they've had some like pretty close wins in this last few months. And um,
These
they're also
last
just a
few
really bad
months.
last few weeks. Sorry, brain fog. They're also really bad against the spread when they rest. They are 4-20 against the spread with rest advantage.
Everybody up 4 in the morning.
Basically,
Let's play
yeah.
on these
Basically,
back-to-backs.
if they are not running sprints like 24/7, they're not winning. They're not covering the spread, which
James
is weird.
Harden, get
Not
out of the
winning.
club. We need you in the gym right
So,
now.
so this Cavs team, and I mean they're coming off a tough loss to the Lakers yesterday. Luka showing why he should be MVP. But otherwise than that, I mean, yeah, 19 points scored in the second quarter, and then allowing 45 is pretty tough. And they're actually considering for, we talk about Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. They're like almost bottom 5 in rebounding this year in the league too. They average
Which is
around like,
crazy when you got Evan Mobley,
yeah,
man.
I know.
I know they
So
And
both
Jared
had their
Allen, like,
injury problems this year though. I don't know. They
yeah,
haven't
I don't
shared
know.
so
I don't
much of
remember
the
the last
court.
time Jared Allen played, but I think Evan Mobley's been a little too inconsistent for my liking this year. I know he just had a really great game against, I think it was the Jazz, but other than
Jared
that,
Allen
like,
played last night. He had 8 points
okay, so
and
Jared Allen
9 for
played last
11.
night, and Franz Wagner
But
makes
he
his return
also
tonight, and they're down 20 at half.
Evan Mobley in 22 minutes went 2 for 4, had 6 points, 4 rebounds.
Yeah, he's had games like that where I'm just like, dude, you were a very, very high valued prospect. I'm not saying he hasn't lived up to like some of like a lot like some of the nights this is the Evan Mobley you expected, but you got to see more of that, especially if before James Harden came in. I almost consider Evan Mobley the second option and then Garland on that Cavs team.
But then they had Thomas Bryant played 25 minutes. And he had 6 rebounds. Like, I
This
don't
this
Yeah,
Cavs
neither.
this Cavs team doesn't move me.
No.
6 wins out of their last 8 games. Yeah, you beat the Magic, which we've talked about how the Magic have been all over the place, but that was a 5-point game when they had a spread of 10.5. And then you beat Miami. You played them back to back and you split. So it's like, yeah, I don't think they've definitely gained some momentum in the last 2 weeks, but again, against opponents that you should be winning most of the time, I don't think that's something we should be awarding for. So it's a good reason that you got a poop team.
Yeah, and you want to take it into another team that you're like, oh, it's a good reason why I have a poop team, but they're not even necessarily a bad team either. Is the Knicks, and I'm not gonna necessarily go like off of their last 10 because like if you look at their record and especially their schedule, like they've won a decent amount of games, but if you watch the Knicks play, there's just some things that really aren't clicking for them right now, and I honestly don't love their bench. I don't love their depth on that team. Like I think it literally starts and stops with that starting five. Mikal Bridges is so wildly inconsistent. OG Anunoby is a guy who either gives you 20 or he gives you 10. And they've been talking about Karl Anthony Towns a lot and just kind of his like whole needing to be more assertive in this team. The last 3 games that they've played, bad loss against Houston last night, lost to the Thunder a couple of days before that, and they also lost to Charlotte. Like those 2 teams, the first 2 teams are teams like caliber teams that they're going to be playing all throughout the playoffs. Not necessarily saying that the East
And
is
then
comparable to the West.
look at their 7-game win streak that they were on right before that, but name the teams that they
New
beat.
Orleans, Washington, Brooklyn, Indiana, Golden State, Indiana again, Utah, and then they lost to the Clippers. Like I'm not saying at all that this Knicks team is
Fraud
bad.
watch.
Obviously, you're
Yeah.
48 and 28. You don't get there by being bad, but I think they're so inconsistent that it's a team that's going to really choke first or second round. And they lost to the freaking Hornets. Like I don't know what else to say about that.
Look at
That's
that
a
road record, man. 20-19 away
Who,
for a
the
3 seed.
Knicks?
That's not. Yeah. They're like
2019,
barely
yeah.
5.
Yeah, they're not
They're
great.
like
And then
barely
what's their
I
home
500
think that's
record?
just a
road.
compliment that they're so good at home.
Hold on. I just lost it. They are at home 27-9 at home.
Okay, so God forbid they're not an MSG, man. Like it's a coin flip.
But in the playoffs, realistically, if you get one win on the road, that might be all you need. So if you're the higher seed, if you have home court
It
advantage.
could be, but not when you're 21 and 19 when you're away.
I think this Knicks team, it looks good on paper. They have an incredibly solid core, and they can win, good games. But I think, like you said, there are some problems with just like Cat overall as a player. Like he's not playing up to the level that they thought they were gonna get from him when he came to New York. And I think there's a legitimate case to be made that this team has already hit its peak, and that this is a team that will give any team in the East a run for their money. But realistically, comparing them against like the Celtics or the Cavs, I think that this is a team that, yeah, if you told me they lost in the second round of the playoffs, I think it makes sense. I don't think this is a team, even if they make it out of the East, I don't think this is a team that has any shot of winning the finals.
No, I don't think they go deep enough.
Nope.
Can't wait to have New York on my ass, and then they figure out I'm a Nets fan. I'm done for.
Yeah, no, what we've learned about social media is you could post an opinion on both sides, and you'll have the comments will tell you you're wrong no matter what. But like that _pod if you want to defend us. So for last segment, or our last ever time doing our players of the week, poop players of the week, fly by these a little bit quicker this time. My player of the week is going to be Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, his PRAs of over 38.5. That's cashed 8 of his last 10 games. On the season, he's averaging just over 40 PRAs. His over in points, I mean, the reason I want to shout out Jaylen Brown specifically here is, I know we've already talked about Wemby this episode, but a lot of Shea, a lot of Luka MVP talks, but to give Jaylen Brown his flowers is something that I think we haven't done just yet.
The same Jaylen Brown who has 20 points in the first quarter right now?
Look, I didn't even do that on purpose.
Dude, 83 point bomb incoming.
But his over in points, if you just took Jaylen Brown's over every night on points from the beginning of the season, that's hit at a 67% hit rate. 2/3 of the year, making you a lot of money.
Remember when we did that joke during our episodes and it was funny, except it wasn't?
Holy shit, they have 53 points in the first quarter.
If you go back, outside of his ejection versus the Spurs a couple weeks back, Jaylen Brown has only had 2 games with less than 20 points since the beginning of the new year. Dude's hooping.
Damn. Love to see it, man. Love to see it. I love my Celtics, man. I'm just glad too. I mean, he already kind of beat the narrative once he won Finals MVP too over Tatum, but it's good to see like basically a full season being the number 1 guy and basically averaging 30 and bringing your team to. If Detroit wasn't on that hot of a start at the beginning of the season, I think they could have had the 1 seed, but still being a title contender even without Tatum being there. I mean, that in itself, he should be given his flowers for that.
Yeah, I think that what Jaylen Brown's done, like in terms of stepping up when he really needed to, especially when this Celtics team had like no clear like expectation, the numbers he was able to put up, like it's above and beyond what I think anyone expected of him. So, player of the week, yes, and I think that. I was gonna say, if Shea and Luka weren't in the talks here, or when we were in the talks, Jaylen Brown does start to come up in that sort of MVP race. If you're trying to figure out how valuable is a player to his team, like Jaylen Brown is definitely right up there with like the Celtics are not the Celtics without Jaylen Brown. But SGA and the Thunder are married basically, and Luka and the Lakers. So that same debate's made for every team. But I think Jaylen Brown's been one of the most impactful in terms of that type of conversation.
What do you guys bring to the table?
My player of the week is actually a name that I feel like we haven't talked about much at all. Jonathan Kuminga. I have something different
That's not
written
what I'm
down.
seeing. It's what I'm seeing on the sheet.
As the cum bucket. His line at 4.5 rebounds has hit 8 in his last 10. It's actually the line at 4.5 has covered 77% of the season for him. He's currently averaging 6 rebounds in his last 10, and since getting traded to Atlanta, he's also getting like decent playing time. In his last 5, he's averaged like 25 minutes a game. He's not scoring the ball much, but he's definitely out there a lot of the time to grab boards. And his potential rebounds in the last 5 has also been within the double digits. So he's had a lot of opportunities to hit this line. He's been hitting it. So, yeah, shout out Cum Bucket, man.
Yeah, we're all high on Jonathan Kuminga right now because he hits the glass hard as hell. Just rebounds like a mofo. Like no one's rebounding at a more efficient 5 rebounds a game rate than him.
Well, we
Hey
talked.
man, if you've taken over 4.5, you've made money 8 out of the last 10 games.
He from the field he hasn't been so hot. I mean, kind of just more streaky, I would say. You know, there's one game he's on, one game he's off. But
Well, we're talking about rebounds. We're not talking about
hey,
points.
Boardman gets paid. Boardman gets paid.
Watch
We all get
Boardman
paid.
gets paid.
Leaning at that glass. Well, moving to my side here. It's funny. I got 2 Pistons lined up going back to back for my best player and then my poop player. We're gonna start things off where Nick was a couple segments ago with Dennis Jenkins.
Sorry.
This is
Yeah,
a
brother
guy
didn't
who's
read the
averaged on-
notes file.
Yeah.
He put it in so late. That's not my
Hey,
fault.
Hey, we had plenty of time while I was eating my pizza to double check what we put down here.
My fault,
Um,
man.
But Dennis Jenkins, the guy who averaged 9 points on the season. Obviously, when you're playing behind Cade, it's not like you're going to see the most time on the floor anyway. But since Cade's absence, 9 games since that, you don't exactly expect a guy to take like the craziest leap. And those who do, like those are guys who you can keep them around on your team for a good while, and then when they eventually go somewhere else, they might just become a much bigger part of that system. And Dennis Jenkins in this last about 9-game stretch has been averaging 18 points a game. He dropped 30 on the Lakers, including a game winner. I don't think out of anyone on the Pistons that I expected to step up in Cade's absence that it was going to be Jenkins. He's a guy whose name I would see on Reel, and I'm like, who the hell is D Jenkins? Like multiple times, I'd be like, I'd be seeing this guy cooking my way because Dennis Jenkins has like 12 points, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. Sorry, Pistons fans, not to get you tight. This guy's legit. I've seen him. I've watched him play now multiple times, but absolutely, just I think exceeded any expectation anyone had, especially for the Pistons now without Cade for 9 games. And we didn't see. I mean, Duncan Robinson stepped up on his own. That whole Pistons team honestly elevated in Cade's absence. So when they get him back, it's only going to be better. But they know that they have a really good like prime Dinwiddie and Jenkins. That's not even a bad thing. Saw Dinwiddie on the Nets have a really good stretch.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean,
then he fell off.
It's a compliment. I mean, it's like a compliment. It's like kind of like capping his ceiling. It's like.
You don't know. But I think that this is a guy who stepped up into a role that there was a lot of uncertainty around.
Yeah, no, I mean, his box scores look electric. It's funny because I know you're about to mention your poop player, and your poop player was kind of the guy I was hoping would be Dennis Jenkins without Cade. I was really high on him out of the draft, and hasn't really been that guy in the NBA yet. But shout out Dennis Jenkins before we talk about that. Also, when trying to look up Dennis Jenkins on ESPN, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Actually found that out as I was looking up his reasons.
The fact that there are 2 Dennis Jenkins on ESPN,
that's wild.
That's nuts.
Same spelling?
Same spelling. The other one played for the Pacific Tigers.
Oh, okay.
Similar career trajectories there.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got anything else on Dennis Jenkins?
I can't
No.
say I do. I was gonna wear his jersey, but I left it in the closet.
I have watched a lot. I've watched a lot of Pistons games since Cade's been gone, and I think in part because I really wanted to see how much they would fall apart without him, because I wanted to kind of defend my take that I didn't think the Pistons were deep enough. But hell, man, like they've absolutely like just kind of leveled out that curve. But flipping over to the other side, poop player of the week for me here. And I don't even think this is like this disrespectful of a guy to go at. Ron Holland, still very young, still a lot of like expectation for. And Nick was talking about rebounds. We're just gonna go straight at his scoring. In his last 10 games, he's averaged 5 points. And again, no Cade. Tobias Harris sat out a couple games. Plenty of opportunity to go around, I believe, with this Pistons team without Cade. Like I don't even know the total amount of shot volume that he takes on a nightly basis, but there's plenty to go around there. Two of his last 10 games are the only times that he has crossed his over in points, and I think it's typically right between 7.5 to maybe 9.5. And I say 2 of the last 10 that he crossed, 2 of those games didn't even have a line. Like he was that inefficient that no sports books were putting anything up for him. So and he's not like getting bad minutes either. He's getting at least 15 to 20, I mean, there's one random game where he had 3 against the Lakers. I don't know what happened there. But I don't for a guy who's got crazy expectations, still not crazy, but pretty high expectations for him. He's a high pick. No, like he did not
No.
step up, and he did not
No.
step up in the time that Cade hasn't been here. So Pistons got a winner and a loser in these two right now, but maybe they'll
Yeah.
turn it around.
I mean, I like Ron, rooting for Ron, but god damn it, Ron, fucking find the bottom of the basket.
God damn it, Ron.
He's not necessarily a good
Ah.
shooter either. Like I watched him pull a 3 the other night, and it just sailed over the rim about 5 feet too high. But they got Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris. I guess you can afford to give up some shooting with Asar Thompson and Ron, but
Well, my poop player of the week actually does play a good amount of minutes, and it does pain me to say this because I love this man near and dear to my heart. It's gonna be Derek White. His last few games, if you look at his shooting splits, they've been ugly, dude. Like they have been pretty bad. He has covered his line at 16 and a half.
Tordates.
Yeah. Two of his last 10, he has covered 16 and a half. The last time he covered that line was March 16th. So it's been kind of a rough spell for Mr. White. He's averaged 14 in his last 10. In his last 3 games, he has shot 27% against the Thunder, and then the back-to-back games against the Hawks, he shot 23% from the floor and 25% from the floor. All finishing with 12, 10, and 7 in his last 3. Safe to say the shooting touch for Derek White hasn't been there. And I mean, 1 for 6 from 3, 0 for 4, 2 for 7. I mean, this is kind of, the Celtics play style. It's like, it's basically just chuck it up and hope it goes in. But when they get into spurts like this where they're just on a dry spell, and especially now is like probably not the best time to be doing this, but yeah, man, it's ugly. It looks
I mean,
bad.
sure, it's not the best time for them for any one of these top teams to be like having any sort of shooting issues, but I think the Celtics have been just so good at like finding the guys who will step up and make those shots, like Pritchard, and Peyton Pritchard's been a reliable option for them, but Peyton Pritchard stepping up in very pivotal moments. Bailey Shireman, is it Bailey or Baylor? Sorry, I just know
I think it's
Shireman.
Baylor.
Baylor Shireman stepping up. He's a guy who'll hit some big time threes. I've seen him like late in some fourth quarter stretches where like they give the ball to Shireman and it's like, oh, why the fuck Batumin? And it's like Shireman pulling a 3 and he just bangs it. And I'm like, okay, he's like that. No, I mean, Derek White in his own right, I don't know if he's necessarily, a career great shooter by any means, but he definitely elevates the team when he's on the floor. But yeah, you definitely don't want these stretches going in late into the season.
Now, what if I told you my poop player of the week had such a bad performance, a singular performance, that it was enough for me to say this dude takes the cake? One single game. Like usually I want to bring up betting stats, but this game is not being talked about enough. If we go back to what date was this? I don't even have it up, but it was the Raptors versus the Magic. Raptors win 139 to 87. It is an absolute blowout. And I want to shout out number 8 on the Magic, Jamal Cain. In 8 minutes of play, he goes 0 for 3 from the field, 1 rebound, 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers.
That's some stuff I've seen by some randoms in rec, man.
Oh, man.
You could say it is harder to get 6 turnovers in 8 minutes. If you were like, it's harder to do that than it is to just like actually try not to do anything on the basketball court like for 8 minutes.
I need to see. Was this all in like one half?
He played
Like, did he just
garbage minutes because they were.
Oh my
I want to
God,
see
dude.
those turnovers.
I need to watch those. I just need to know, like,
He had a plus minus of minus 32 in 8 minutes of play.
8 minutes.
For reference, the worst one we've ever seen was Cody Williams, who had minus 62, but he played 32 minutes.
He
Oh
had
my
a
God,
minus
dude.
of 32 in 8 minutes.
In
That's
8 minutes?
that's gotta be the least efficient game ever. Tony
Well,
Snell did more.
Jamal Cain
Ugh.
tied the record for most turnovers with less than 9 minutes played. There's only
Wow.
6 players that have ever had 6 turnovers in a game with less than 10 minutes left, or 10 minutes played. But if you filter it down to just 8 minutes or less, there's only 2 players that have ever done that, and that is Jamal Cain with 6 turnovers in 8 minutes, and James Ray in 1982 recording 6 turnovers in 4 minutes.
That's off. That's hard, man. That's tough.
Wow.
I think I
You
got a
have to
better
try
chance of
to. You
scoring
have
an
to try
NBA
to do
player
that.
than to do that.
Yeah.
Kwame Brown, where
Holy
you at?
shit.
So,
Anthony Bennett, where you at?
quick recap, our teams of the week: the San Antonio Spurs, the Denver Nuggets, and the Detroit Pistons. Our poop teams of the week: the Memphis Grizzlies, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the New York Knicks. Our players of the week: Jaylen Brown, Jonathan Kuminga, and Danis Jenkins. And our poop players of the week: Jamal Cain, Derek White, and Ron Holland.
Like, what are you doing to are you giving him the ball? Like, how the fuck?
Have
I
you
need to
seen
look this
that
up.
clip where like I think it's JaVale McGee of course JaVale McGee, but like there's an inbounds play and whoever the ball point guard got the ball thought that he was supposed to go and inbound the ball, so he gets the ball from the center and then just basically walks out of bounds to inbound it back to the center, and the ref's like, nah, you just went out of bounds, bro.
How many times do you touch the ball in 8 minutes? With 6 turnovers,
Um,
there's no way he touched this ball more than 10 times.
it's 6 times too many, man.
Unbelievable,
Uh,
unbelievable. But on the only one way to go but up.
So when he checked in, the Raptors went on a 31-0 run, and he had 4 turnovers consecutively in that run. I need to see this. I need to look this up.
Oh,
Holy shit!
Might be it's probably the worst stat line I've ever seen in my lifetime that I've ever seen on a basketball court.
8 minutes. Yeah. And coach is just like, get him out of the
Dude,
Get out of the game.
we talked about when Mikal Bridges put up a goose egg, and you're probably ducking people in the locker room. If I'm Jamal Cain, I'm just making sure I still got my locker the next morning. Hey coach, do you need me to
Like-
shine your shoes?
It's like after the game, it's like that Jets clip. It's like, oh damn, they must have cut me.
Yeah, with Jamal Adams trying to get into this. Yeah,
Oh, they must have cut me.
But-
yeah, all right.
yeah. Speaking on a little bit of football there, we want to jumping into our NFL win totals. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I mentioned that I like the Titans at over 7.5. Their line since then has dropped to 6.5. And that I liked the Ravens under 11.5, whereas Brooklyn was talking about taking the Browns at, I believe, was it under 5.5 or under 6.5?
I think it was 4.5.
No, it wasn't 4.5.
You sure?
Because we were saying, how does this team? We were arguing the over. We're like, how do they win 6 games?
Okay, that sounds right, but I agree with that. They're not winning 6. They're not even touching 5.
Yeah. So you had Cleveland. You also had the Bills at over 10.5, but we didn't get Nick's input on it. Nick wanted to jump in here. So we came back. Both Brooklyn and I are going to be given 2 new teams to talk about for win totals. Nick's going to bring 2 to the table. And yeah, start us off since you got 2.
Well, I was looking at this slate, and one team that really piqued my interest was San Francisco. 10.5 wins their line, plus 125, and I think they covered this. I think you're gonna get Kittle back healthy. Fred Warner's gonna be back healthy. They just signed Mike Evans.
Well,
so
it's going to take Kittle some time to get back.
It definitely is, but I mean, in this division where Seattle, who's also, I'm pretty sure they're at 10.5, and they're favored to hit that. I don't think they win. I don't think they cover that. I mean, they just lost most of their starters, and this was a division last year that it was between them 3, and then you had the Cardinals, obviously. But I mean, San Fran was kind of a sleeper team in this division last year, and not to mention they had that big upset win against Philly in the wild card game. I kind of feel like between the 3 teams, the Rams, San Fran, and Seattle, I feel like San Fran's kind of in the best case scenario because they really didn't lose anybody, and more so they kind of gained more offensive weapons. So I think it'll be good. I think they cover 10.5 wins, and I like the value at plus 125. I think after the draft that changes. But some of the teams in their schedules is they play Cardinals twice, guaranteed 2 wins. Dolphins, Raiders, Giants, and then I really do think they could beat Seattle twice. They probably take one from the Rams as well. I don't have the full schedule
You
up
got to
here,
settle
sorry.
down on this Seattle slander, man. They just won the Super Bowl. You're saying they
What?
win 9 games? You're saying Seattle or you're saying San Fran sweeps them?
Okay. Well, they play the Chiefs. Chiefs is probably a win. I think they beat Philly again.
We don't know
Win
when
some.
these games, date
Like I don't
wise,
know when they're happening, but I don't
You're
know.
making some.
Some of these teams that I'm looking at. What? Some of these teams I'm looking at. I think they could beat Atlanta.
No,
I think they're
I
better than the
agree with you
Falcons.
that I think that there is a very realistic path for the Niners to get 11 wins. Like I think you can count 9 matchups that they should be favored in, and then those that's 9 for me. That's excluding the 2 Seattle games and the 2 Rams games. So you squeak out a win there, or at least obviously you need 2 in that case. But I think that Seattle definitely wasn't able to bring everybody back, but I think you can't say that this team's gonna win 9. That they're not gonna hit double-digit wins. I think that's
Well, I'm not
that's an
saying that
insane
they're not going to
fall
hit
off.
double-digit wins, but I'm just saying Seattle being favored at 10.5 as Super Bowl favorites. I understand that, but they did lose some crucial pieces, and San Fran being underdog that just hit that last year, and they've only made additions. I don't think that's a bad pick.
On their schedule, I would count these as teams they should. Well, they're gonna be favored going into the game, so realistically should be winning. That's Vikings, Dolphins, Falcons, Raiders, Commanders, Cardinals, Giants, Cowboys, Cardinals. So that's 9 right there.
Say Chiefs.
I did not include the Chiefs. So that's what I'm saying. That's 9 right there. You need 2 more, and you play the Rams twice. You play the Seahawks twice. You play the Eagles. You play the Chiefs. So I think it's
Broncos.
realistic that they could sneak
Yeah.
out 2 of those.
Yeah. So I'm rolling with the Niners. Do you want me to say my other one, or do you guys want to share yours?
Nah, you can save it for last.
Okay.
But anything you
Pick
want to
up here,
add there
then.
on San Fran, Brooklyn, or no?
Not really. I think all those points are pretty covered. I do like San Francisco having a shot at over 10.5 wins now. Getting Mike Evans, I think that wide receiver room looks a bit better. And again, Purdy was playing really great towards the end of that stretch of the season. As long as they can kind of stay healthy, I think that's their biggest threat anyway. But otherwise, pretty talented team. Defensively, they just gotta step that up. Like that was like their Achilles heel last year as well. But um, going into my team, and I know Nico, we're about to have a little debate about this. Gonna talk about the Chargers under 9.5 wins. I think that they got a pretty tough schedule ahead. Maybe one team I might flip around, maybe 2 towards a gimme win, but not 9.5 wins when you're playing Buffalo, Kansas City twice, and again, we don't know when that game's going to wind up being. Denver, big upgrade there with their wide receiver department. New England is the only one I might, be a little sketch on, right? We saw them play so well this last season, but like that was first Drake May's first year as a starter. And you don't necessarily know what he's going to look like. He didn't look great in the Super Bowl. Rams, Seattle, Houston, Baltimore, San Francisco. I don't think that those games are necessarily a walk in the park for them. A lot of offensive threats, and a lot of those teams have even better defenses than their offenses. So the only real gimmies I see on that schedule are going to be, the usual shitters: Miami, New York. I think Tampa Bay definitely drops here a lot. It's losing Mike Evans. Vegas, they play them twice, and then Arizona. I just don't. I think there's a lot more routes to losing than there are to victories. I think that this is a tough schedule. A lot of the teams that they're playing are pretty matched with them pretty well.
I think you're not giving the Chargers enough credit for who they are as a team. Like last year, this was a team that had the worst ranked O line, was not able to establish the run, and still made it to the playoffs. They had again like the 32nd ranked O line. So Herbert was already able to do so much there, and then you go out and they've made some very important investments into the O line, into Alec Ingold. I know it's crazy to talk about a fullback, but that adds to that blocking there. So I call them like my dark horse to make it out of the AFC this year. Like I think this could be the year the Chargers finally do it. But if the line's at
Well,
if the line's at 9.5, give me both Raiders games. Give me the Jets. Give me the Cardinals. Give me the Dolphins. Give me the Bucks. So now we're sitting at 6. I think Houston is a coin flip that they realistically cash. And then again, I don't think Denver's going to sweep them. I don't think Kansas City sweeps them. They split both of those. Now we're looking at 8. And yeah, games against the Ravens, who I don't think are going to be that big. The Seahawks, the Niners, those are teams that are going to be pretty 50-50 on. So I do think the Chargers, realistically, I think they improved off of last year. So I do see more wins. Like, I think the Chargers are an 11-win team.
I think they improved, and important to note that this line originally opened up at 10.5 and has since dropped now. Sharp money, whatever you might consider, moved that, but I still think there's a lot unproven, especially with that wide receiver room. I know we were talking about this briefly before we started recording, but like, QJ had a great year, but before that, QJ was there. They're saying that like, oh, he's a bust. Ladd, now with all of those targets taken away by QJ, Ladd didn't look great. He had a couple of big plays, but I don't necessarily think Ladd McConkey had anything substantial last season.
But imagine if Herbert has more time in the pocket. I mean, this dude had he had a glass door protecting him.
Right, and that's gonna be the story that's gonna tell us if that blocking unit can hold up. But again, look at some of these defenses they're playing. Some of the same defenses that have some of the best pass rushers in the league. Like I think that there's a lot that's gonna really test that line. I don't necessarily know if that line's like fully reinforced yet. Absolutely have all your trust in Herbert there to be a guy who can maybe take this team and make the impossible happen, 10 wins or more. I mean, I think maybe 10 wins might be realistic, but I still think that there's a lot of avenues here that the Chargers could be looking at some of the same issues that they had last year. Their defense is great, but I just don't know if their offense matches that same sort of caliber.
They're going to have to win.
We're also going to...
Oh, yeah, sorry, you can go.
I was going to say we're getting a healthy Marion Hampton now, too. And, I mean, Vidal showed, too, that he can step up and be an RB1. I mean, fantasy-wise, he produced very well at his time as a starter. So, I mean, they were a pretty good team on the ground, too. So, especially if this blocking improves, not only is it going to take a lot of pressure off of Herbert, but it's going to allow the run game to do a little bit more and adds a little versatility to their offense. Because last year, I mean, yeah, it was kind of Herbert dropping back in the pocket, and now they're getting off the quick pass or scrambling. But if you upgrade the O-line,
it's the blocking though. But look at that schedule. The tough teams that I listed out. I mean, I think when we're saying that Baltimore is a realistic coin flip, maybe I think Baltimore might be a bit better. San Francisco is a real. I think San Francisco is a coin flip there in that list. I think New England's a coin flip. New England's the biggest.
But
coin flip
that's my point. The Bills, the Patriots, the Niners, the Ravens. Those are all coin flips. They don't have to win them all. But you take 2 of those on top of what are supposed to be gimme wins. I think the path, just like how you say, you see a path of, these coin flips not going their route. I think the other way. I think that they're very comparable to Buffalo. I think that game, you ask me right now who wins that game, I'm gonna say the Chargers.
I think the Chargers beat Buffalo.
I think they do.
I think in that matchup, there's a lot more happening in terms of like Buffalo's defense still has to prove a lot more, but I think that Buffalo's offense is a bit better.
No, I mean, Josh Allen and you added a receiver. I agree with you there. But with the additions to the O-line, the defense was already so great last year. You're bringing a lot of those guys back. I think if the O-line gives Herbert a little bit more time and allows this run game to be a little bit more efficient, this is a team that made it to the playoffs when Herbert had one of the smallest windows to throw each time because he had a guy in his face instantly. So I don't hate the pick of the Chargers under.
It's future, right? It's future wins. It's really just going to depend on like can that offensive line like hold up and be what it needed to be last year? Because obviously, if that team was able to block a little bit better, that Chargers unit could have been much more dangerous. Herbert might not even have that broken hand, and all of a sudden you're looking at a completely healthy Herbert, which is game changer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the team I wanted to talk about today, bringing up another under here in the AFC, that's going to be the Jets. Jets sit at 5.5. I think this kind of goes in the same way when Brooklyn and I were talking about Cleveland, which Nick, was
Jets or
excuse me, am I? Oh yeah, no, I'm talking the wrong way. I was starting.
All of a sudden, you guys switched.
I was like, I was confused.
And then Nico started going with it like he's like he was ready for to talk about the Jets.
No, he was like, oh yeah.
I was fully ready to defend it, which is funny because I do agree with you on it. So spoiled yours,
yeah.
But mine actually, it's because they're so similar. The Raiders and the Jets, both teams that have 5.5 projected win totals. But I've talked very highly on the Raiders this whole offseason. I think they've made a lot of big signings, and you haven't lost Max Crosby. And Mendoza is going to be the quarterback by the start of the year. But Um, their schedule, man, it's not fun. Going through it, they obviously have to face everybody in the division: the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. I think there's a pretty good chance, they maybe sneak out a win. They maybe go 1-5 there. But then then you have to play the AFC East. You've got the Bills, you've got the Patriots, and I know the Dolphins are the worst projected team there. But then they visit teams like the 49ers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Seahawks. Like, they're playing all the tough divisions this year, and their easier games on their schedule are the Cardinals, the Browns, the Titans, and the Saints. And realistically, I would probably take all four of those teams over the Jets. So or over the Raiders. I got the Jets on the mind. So yeah, I'd say their most realistic wins versus the Jets, versus the Browns, versus the Dolphins. But if you told me they need to get 3 more wins out of that schedule, I wouldn't be able to tell you where they get them from.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. And it sucks because any team with Aston Gentry, I want to root for them too. But
I think
there's
they're
just a
going to
lot of
improve. Like, they're going to
holes.
look like I think that the Raiders are going to look a lot like the Titans of last year. Just I think Mendoza's going to come in a little bit more structured than Cam Ward was. I think different prospects. I think Ward was kind of built more of like a project guy, whereas Mendoza looks a little bit more NFL ready. But even
Yeah.
then, I think if they had I think this is a team that could win 7 games if they didn't have an absolute gauntlet of a schedule in front of them.
Yeah,
That's
that
true.
schedule is horrendous for them, man. I
Yeah.
I feel bad. Like, you're playing virtually most of the best defenses in the league, putting them up against a rookie quarterback. Like,
Well, the
yeah,
AFC West
no,
is already so tough. Then they have to go out and play the NFC West, which is even more tough. And then you got to play the AFC East. That's too much. That's too much for this young team.
but hey, you never know. Dante Thornton, Genty, Mendoza. That might be
No,
the triple threat of all time.
like, you look what Clint Kubiak did with the Seahawks last year and Sam Darnold. Like, I do think there is a route where, like, Mendoza comes out and is even better than we all thought, and they can win these games. Like, if they end up splitting a couple of those series against Denver, Kansas City, that's 2 of them right there. So, like, I think there's a window, or there's an opportunity that they could get into that 7-win range. But realistically, I think the defense is going to hold them back, and rookie quarterback with an O line you invested some money in, but still one great guy isn't going to plug all 5 holes. So
Yeah,
I think
it'll be left to be seen, but Mendoza's a kind of battle tested quarterback. I think he was super resilient in the net, or on his road to the Natty. Like, yeah, I agree with you saying he's going to come in a little bit more prepared than Cam Ward. I don't think he's necessarily as much of a, what's it called? I
project.
don't think he's much. Yeah, he's not as much of a project, and I don't think he's also that much of like a risk take.
Yeah, no,
You
I agree
know,
with you. Like, he's more NFL ready.
yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got on the Raiders. But now we can talk Jets.
Yeah, now the Jets. Their win line is also at 5.5, and it's kind of the same thing, dude. These bad teams are just getting shredded with this schedule. Some of the names or some of the teams that the Jets have to match up against, or granted, Geno Smith does. Uh, Bears, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers. Obviously, you have the Bills twice, Pats twice, Dolphins twice, which realistically, I could see them not even sweeping the Dolphins. I do think that Miami gets a steal win at
Steal win.
Hard Rock.
They better, because
I
they
like,
where else are they winning?
and then also they have to play the Broncos, Packers, Vikings. I mean, they're playing a lot of teams from the NFC, like a lot of, and granted, these are home games too. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I see them not beating the Titans. Like, especially if they have to go down to Nashville, I could see the Titans beating them. I don't think they beat
Music
Denver.
to my
They
ears.
definitely don't beat Green Bay. Um, I do think that they could beat the Raiders, especially if it's at home. But I mean, when you have Geno Smith at quarterback, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, in this offseason, they made a lot of upgrades on the defensive end. I know they signed Joseph Asai. They also got, I had it
What's
up and then I
left of
lost it.
Demario Davis?
Yeah, they got Mario Davis, and I mean, they traded for a Minka Fitzpatrick, who, is kind of like on his last few legs there. I mean, he's almost 30 in football, and I mean, he didn't have a great season with the Dolphins. He was kind of a salary dump when they were getting rid of Tua. So they made upgrades to their defense, but again, it's just this offense. It's like they're not addressing their main problem at QB, and they're kind of filling in holes to try to find someone in the draft. But it's like the Jets, they just have a history of not drafting the right guy at QB. So at some point, it's like, where do you move forward from that? And if they're gonna run with Geno this season, then it just kind of seems like that's what they're gonna try to do. But like, yeah, man, I don't see them.
It's a
This
tank
is
for
a team
Arch
that won
Manning.
3 games last year. Yeah, it's a team that won 3 games last year. And looking at the schedule, I don't see them being any better than that.
We're about to have another
So
Browns epiphany moment.
Do you think
yeah,
who has a
right?
better record this year, the Jets or the Dolphins?
I
The sports books would say it would be
Okay.
the Dolphins.
I would agree. I do also think it's the Dolphins, and that's. I mean, I know you just got rid of Tua and Waddle, and you don't have Tyreek Hill, but you're
I
not.
mean, what are we
You don't have
what are
any.
we
You don't have
doing?
any expectation there. I don't know. You have Achan, and
What are
you
we
just signed
doing?
Malik.
That first 5 weeks for the Jets. Like, Bills, Bears, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers.
Well, date to
Yeah,
be
dude.
determined.
Like
Is it
And then after
that
their
the
one,
exact-
their one coin flip, and I mean, assuming this is
technically, yeah. So
assuming, yeah, we don't know exactly. But I'm
yeah,
reading off those first 5 as I'm seeing them, and like, imagine if it is. But then they get like one easy breezy Miami, and then New England, Buffalo, New England, Denver, Green Bay. Oh my God.
and then like, but then you go down. You got to go down to Arizona and play the Cardinals away. Like, and I know obviously Arizona's not a great team, but I mean with Brissett, they look completely different. Like you're not playing Kyler Murray anymore. So again, it's like it's kind of tough to say, especially like this early on. But like looking at it from how this team looked last year and seeing that they didn't really upgrade the offense at all, and some of the teams that they have to play, yeah, I don't see them. I don't see them getting 6 wins. I see them hovering around the 3 and 4 spot again.
I can't stand behind it. I mean, I think the route of them hitting their over is Geno Smith looking more like Seattle Geno Smith.
Which I don't see that
The
happening.
defense
man.
actually
like we
recording
just
an interception.
realistically, he went from like a Vegas team that was bad but had weapons. Like you had Genty and you had Brock Bowers, Sean Tucker. Like you had decency. Now you're going to the Jets where
Sean
you have.
Tucker. Yeah, Bowers missed like half the year.
Yeah,
You
but
could
still,
argue
like, yeah,
his weapons are
when he was
better.
there though.
Wasn't Sean Tucker on the Bucks?
Oh, sorry, Trey Tucker. My fault. But like, I don't know, man. You would say his weapons are better on the Jets?
Brees Hall's more established. Garrett Wilson is
Wilson.
better than Trey
I mean,
Tucker.
yeah.
I think Mason Taylor's a good pass catcher.
Mason Taylor is decent.
No.
He's not
He's
like
not- yeah, I mean,
he's
he's not
not
no Brock,
great,
but-
but he's like an up and coming, and he didn't have a bad rookie season.
Man, it's the Jets.
Hey, no, I'm with you on their under, but I think the only route of them.
If Geno's still throwing interceptions like he was last season, then I don't care what weapons you have. Like, it's still going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, we're talking about a team last year that didn't have an interception. A team that didn't have an interception.
Yes. And they signed linemen.
So
like, you traded for a safety. Nice. But, like,
So our
not gonna help.
NFL win totals part 2, adding to the list. I have Raiders under 5.5. Nick has 49ers over 10.5, Jets under 5.5, and Brooklyn with the Chargers under 9.5. How did we go through the whole Chargers argument and not even mention that was this out of passion? It's you versus the Chargers.
I'm just preying on the downfall of Los Angeles sports, to be honest.
I'm shocked Nico didn't bring up the Chiefs. Just hammer their under wins.
We don't know where.
Yeah,
I'd love to
if
know
I
where
see a
the
Chiefs
quarterback.
minus 4.5, I might have it. Like,
Sitting here at an hour and 9 minutes, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys if we want to save the NBA expansion discussion for an episode that doesn't
Or-
exist,
yeah, I was gonna say the episode that's not coming.
or do we call it? Is this the end of the podcast right here?
I think we have a little bit more time to talk about that, especially since it's just so fresh. Formulate our thoughts a bit more. But of course, we'll be having that conversation individually in our own individual group chat.
Right.
April
No one else will find out, right?
Fools! Even though everybody's seeing this on April 2nd, but we recorded on April 1st.
You thought we would just blow up and then allow like the whole Instagram side of things and TikTok side of things to get toxic at each other and then just like dip?
Yeah, let's also be
No.
real. If this was our last episode, I would have put it in the title.
But me not being able to sleep at night's true because I can't
For different
I
reasons.
can't get the nightmares of all of the you just only watched 1 month of the NBA to say Luka's MVP comments like out of my head. People calling me a casual fan. Ugh.
I got
But
called an
you are
unathletic dork. All right, like you can shit on my opinions, but what did I do? Like what did I do for you to tell me I'm unathletic? Like come
Also,
on.
to that guy, he's like, go watch something with unathletic people, such as golf. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, or hockey. And I'm like,
I don't. Yeah, hockey's
there's a
like.
couple of hockey guys.
Yeah, let's go
who
get this
are gonna
hater.
body
Let's
most
put him on
NBA
some
players,
skates.
and-
Let's see how he can
Yeah,
go
brother.
on the rink.
I want to see him on the green. Yeah, let's put you on skates.
But don't worry, we will be back for episode 27 and many more episodes after that. But socials, as always, if you want to see all of the engagement that we've gotten, that's going to be _pod. And I'm happy that this isn't the last episode.
I am as well. Especially, it really would have sucked that we were just gonna say, yeah, we're done like a week before the NBA playoffs start.
Yeah, I got zero plans. We have so much content that we have going forward. We're gonna be obviously the playoffs is gonna be really big. That's also gonna be really big because we can finally actually start talking like playoff bets. When we have structured schedules, like those lines are gonna be out earlier, so we'll be able to throw some more props in those ways. And then once we get post NBA playoffs and we're in this dog days of summer, like actually not even before we get there, but the NFL draft's in 3 weeks. So you're going to see a mock draft from us in the next 2 episodes. But then, once we're in summer, it's going to be a lot of fantasy football, a lot of football, whole lot of football, and maybe some
Eventually
football
football's
after
probably coming
that.
up. Yeah, we'll have some football coming up soon because football is coming up then, and then we'll be talking about some football
And then
later on.
and then we'll have football coming up.
Don't forget though about football. Just in case you had the script down and you had a bunch to talk about.
Because football.
But yeah,
Oh.
that _pod. My name is Nico, and I am saying goodnight, and hopefully they will say goodnight after me.
Good night.
What's your name?
My name's Nick. Good night.
My name's Brooklyn. Good night.